All right, everybody. Well, as the title says, I'm impatient. I'm an impatient person, and I'm always eager to start the next chapter. And I like to be busy. I'm not someone who can sit on the couch all day. I gotta have something to do. I gotta have something to keep my mind and my hands occupied. And as you well know, I like working on trucks. So. I also, though, unfortunately don't have an unlimited budget. I wish I did, because if I did, my property across the street would be full of projects and trucks. But alas, my pockets are only so deep. So now that the L9000 is pretty much done and it's running and driving just like the Lodestar is, I've got two trucks that are, all but some odds and ends, and now at this point some very, very small odds and ends, almost none. Those trucks are really complete, so time for another one in my world. So you can probably see something poking behind me. So I will admit this is a little bit of a rehash, but I think as you'll see here in the next few minutes, this is a totally new project, just maybe a little bit new iteration of an existing one. But what I'm going to do is as I've hinted in a video some of you guys might have watched on this 6BT Cummins powered Chevy 3500 HD. I'm going to rebuild this truck, and I'm going to rebuild it from the ground up. We're going to start over, and well, come on, I'm going to show you on paper first, and then on the truck what we're going to do. Hang tight. So before we get into what we're going to do, let me show you the why of the meat of this video. So today's video, we're taking this truck apart. I've had it sitting in the barn for the last 14 hours or so. We melted all the snow off of it. As you can see, it's Michigan, it's snowy. We got about 4 inches on the ground and 4 to 7 more coming tonight. So my goal today is to get this truck into pieces. The front core support, the fenders, I don't know about the fenders. These might be fine, but I really highly doubt it. These were new fenders though. They're showing surface rust. I know they're rust underneath. That side's tweaked from an accident that one of my guys got in, rear-ended another salt truck about 6 years ago. It's junk. The cab is clearly junk. That's beyond rockers. That's into the cab structure. Rockers are shot. Bottoms of the doors, they look okay from the outside, but they're starting to go. Those doors were replacement doors back 9 years ago when I built this truck. It's been into bumps and tweaks. It's been a salt truck. She's done for. Obviously, the box is rotted out. The frame is really, really questionable. We'll know more once we get it apart, get it into pieces. The flatbed, pure junk. I've replaced cross members. It's gone. There's nothing left of it. There's holes all through it. What is good, however, is the 331 gears in the rear axle. What is good is the brand new kingpins, well, mostly new, kingpins in the front axle. All 4 spring packs have less than 40,000 miles on them. Brakes, maybe. Brakes aren't that expensive, so we'll end up doing new ones probably. And most importantly, what's good is the 12-valve Cummins with a less than 40,000 mile turbo, actually less than about 20,000 mile turbo on it. Motor does have blow-by. I don't know that rebuilding the engine is going to be part of this build. It might, but we'll see what dollars allow. Worst case though, she's a good running and driving engine. For the amount of miles I'm going to put on it, we'll deal with some blow-by. She's got great power. And then the Fuller FS5406 6-speed that's behind it is a recently remanned. That's probably got less than 1,000 miles on that transmission. So, and some of the other miscellaneous parts, that air-to-air intercooler, fluid coolers, miscellaneous, all kinds of crap that's good that we can use. Stereo, maybe the seat, stuff like that. So, not to get into all those details, but let's show you. That's what we're gonna use some off of. Let's show you what the end goal is. So I'm not an artist, but guys, this is what's in my head. So if you're not familiar with it, the Chevy and GMC C3500 HD came out in 1991, right when which 91 would have been the first year, I believe, for all of the heavy-duty trucks. So the 1-tons basically were carryover from the square body style at least through 90 anyway. The heavy duties might have come out in 90, and then this HD came out in 91, so I could be off a year. But regardless, I know the HD's first year was 91. What made the C3500 HD unique, it was very akin to the original old body style Ford Super Duty of the time, was a nice full floater Dana 80 out back, with a 10,000 pound rear axle GVWR, and then a 5,000 pound leaf sprung I-beam front axle up front. So just like a medium duty or heavy duty truck. Nice heavy frame. The 91 through 93s had just a straight frame with a bump up right there. Starting in 94, they had this. They had a frame stiffener, basically an outer sleeve on both sides, because they had problems with those cracking. My dad was a fleet manager back in those days and bought some of the first 91s and 92s, and as welding trucks that were loaded out, they were in fact cracking in half right there. So GM solved that problem with those frame stiffeners. So, but what you'll see here in my drawing is this is an extended cab. GM never made the 3500 HD in an extended cab. They made it in 99.9% of them were regular cabs, and they did make a crew cab version, though. I don't think the crews came out until maybe 94, to be honest. I don't know that for sure, but somewhere around 93, 94, the crew cabs became available. They were pretty rare. Drivelines were, to start, the first year or two, you could get a small block 350, but by and large, the vast majority were gas engines, all 454, no other big block available. And that 350 small block was discontinued after a couple years. So it was basically a big block 454. First few years were throttle body injection, and then the later years were the Vortec style unit injection motors. And then you could also get the 6.5 turbo diesel. Very late in the run, last year of production was 2002, and very late in the run, I believe only 01 and 02, the gas engine switched to the 8.1 liter. I don't know what you want to call that. It's not really an LS motor, but you know, the next gen big block, the would have been Gen 4s, Gen 5s, I don't know, but next generation big block, or the I don't think the Duramax was ever made available. I could be wrong, but I don't think the Duramax was ever available. So it was either 6.5 diesel or the big block. And they did also switch, though, to the Allison 1000 for those last 2 years behind the 8100. So at any rate, though, extended cab was never available, and obviously a straight 6 Cummins diesel was never made available. So what I want to build is an extended cab. I want to have a truck project where I can take my kids with me. Right now I've got an International Lodestar with 2 seats, and I've got a Ford L9000 with 2 seats. So it's great for my wife and I, but we can't take the kids. We rarely would ever need to, but I want to have the ability. If we want to take one of the trucks out and take the kids, I want to do it. My kids are getting older, though. Well, some of them are getting older. My kids range from 4 to 14. And so it's not like this is a daily driver. We've both got crew cab pickup trucks that we can go do our everyday things in. But when we want to play around, I want to be able to take them. An extended cab fits that bill. It doesn't make it too long of a truck. I think it's a better looking truck for what this vehicle is, quite frankly. And it still has that back seat for kids, especially girls. I've got 3 girls. So they're not quite as big as strapping boys, right? So that's the truck side of it. The bed side is what I have envisioned is a frame lengthening to go to a longer chassis and a very low profile flatbed, as low profile as possible. Going to do a very short cross member, but a very short body frame rail, and then some short cross members on with structural out frame members, I guess you'd call them, exterior frame members, to get this as low as possible on the frame. We'll do some bump ups up over the fenders because we want to be that low, or bump ups up over the wheels, so drive over type fenders. And then what I have in mind, we'll see what I come up with, is a hydraulic dovetail. I've got a hydraulic power unit, a 12-volt electric power unit out of an old dump trailer. So it would be a matter of cylinders and lines and fabbing the hinges and the lock. So I want to see what I can do, because I envision this, we can throw the side-by-side up on this, or a skid steer if I want to haul something for work. Again, it's all just a toy, but I want to have it be functional, and then we'll put a receiver in for a winch as well. So kind of a recovery type flatbed. You know, again, I'm not going to use this for much at all for actual work, but it's there when we need it to be. But you can put just about anything on it, but you could also haul a vehicle, basically. So that's what I've got in mind. So let's get to torching. We got to get this thing cut apart. For now, basically the flatbed can go to scrap anytime, but we're keeping everything else. I'm going to get the cab off as a unit with the front clip. I don't plan on using really any of that other than some small pieces. I'm working deals right now on both another donor 3500 HD as well as an extended cab. And the cab's actually off of a half ton, I think. But so we'll see. Dealing with the usual Facebook marketplace people that don't like to respond. So you know, I respond promptly and clear, concise. Here's my questions. Here's what I'm willing to offer. Here's when I'd like to come get it. Get back to me. And you know, it's the usual online sellers. You know, they'll go 4 days before you hear from them again. But unfortunately, these trucks are they're not rare, but they're getting rare. So I got to take what I can get in terms of finding relatively corrosion-free donors. So regardless, that'll be another video when we come up with the donors, but we got to start with this part first and get this thing split in half. So I'm going to pull the cab off with the front clip. We're going to set that off to the side over across the street. We'll be able to stuff some parts into the cab for now and keep them dry and stored. The flatbed just going to come off. Some of that other stuff's getting scrapped, fuel tank and underbody box, that's all junk. You know, rear fender mounts, all that stuff, it's all going away. We're going to leave, at the very least, the front axle in for now. Probably both. We'll leave the frame as a roller so that I can decide what I'm going to do with frame lengthenings and whatnot. And then we're going to leave the motor in the chassis too. We're going to break the motor mounts free so that everything's ready, just so it can be lifted out. It's ready to go, but what better place to store an engine than in the chassis still for the next few weeks until we're ready to start painting or test fitting or all the things that we're going to do to that motor. So I've got an old IBC tote that I can stick upside down over top of it to keep water away from the motor, so that'll work out great. We got all the space in the world across the street, do what we got to do. So yeah, let's get to unbolting and torching and getting some shit done. Stay tuned. All right, well, it's a little smoky in here from torching, but as you can see, in about 4 or 5 hours time, I've made a bunch of progress. The engine and chassis are totally separate from the cab. Every wire, every cable, every hose, every line, every body mount. Shifter's off. So because I don't give a crap about this cab because it's rotted out, I think I'm going to roll a window down and fork it off with the skid steer. This stuff will all come off with the cab. So we'll just jack that up like that. But you know, you can see fenders are loose. Fuel tank's off. That was fun since I apparently had about 45 gallons in a 50-gallon tank. But that's off. I had a rotted line, didn't even know about. You can see this is all the junk. This is what's left of the underbody box. I pulled that off by hand. That was tin foil. Same with the mounts for the fenders were removed by hand because 2 out of the 4 were broke and the other ones weren't far behind. Were torched at the back where the trailer hitch was welded to the frame rails. U-bolts are all off, so I think what I'm going to try to do, it probably won't go that easily, but I'd love to hook chains to the D-rings if they're strong enough yet. Probably not. And just pull this flatbed off, straight off the back, ride it on the frame rails with the skid steer, and then I can spin it and pick it up and do what I got to do. One way or the other, we'll do that, and then we'll get the cab off, and that might be where I stop for today, because that's really as far as we can go, other than, you know, undoing drive shaft and stuff like that. But I got a headache and might want to go inside, so I'll set you up and show you what we do. Okay, well, you saw the truck come apart. Here's man, here's the carnage inside. Jeez. Guys, this is why I mean, you see my stuff. I take good care of it. I wash it. But there is no stop and salt. And this is why I always tell people who are into snow removal that, you know, and salting, and even when you think you're making money, this is why you're really not. You're really not making any money, because this is the carnage that salt creates. Well, I'm gonna get this cleaned up so I can push that chassis back in the shop. I'll finish up getting the driveline unbolted tomorrow, and we'll see how far I go. I'm looking at this frame going, I don't think there's anything left of it. I think it might get, I don't know, fellas. I might take some measurements and torch off the springs and axles and scrap it with the rest. We'll see. Okay, well, here's where we're at. It's the next day. Man, guys, I'm looking at this frame, and yeah, I know there's a lot of scale on the outside, but I don't know. Cross member gone. This cross member might still might still be there, but I bet you there's a hole right there. I bet you if you start hitting with a hammer, that's gone. That one's gone, and that one's gone. So we don't have a single good cross member. Up front, we're probably okay because, well, it's a diesel and it leaked. So we protected the frame. But yeah, the rest not so much. So game plan for today, if I have time, I've actually finally got a call back from a guy that has a good, well, I think is good, we'll find out when we get there, but supposedly a good, mostly rust-free extended cab for a couple $100, so can't turn that down. But I'm kind of leaning towards, I don't know if I'll get to the back end today, but I think what I want to try to do is get this front end supported on jacks, try to get the spring bolts and bushings out, and this axle out of here. And I went and picked up some casters. Man, those aren't cheap, boys. Golly. Friggin', and of course, still made in China. Anyway, $30 a piece, so there's almost 130 after tax in casters, but those are like 900-pound capacity, so they'll more than handle this. But I guess I have visions of, the problem is I'd have to weld some steel, but I got some tube steel. I don't know if it'll be strong enough, but anyway, I have visions of, I was going to buy an engine stand, but they all get crappy reviews and they bend under the weight of anything even remotely this heavy, and I'm not going to spend $3,000 on a good stand. So I just have visions of, I mean, we got an engine cradle right here, and if I can get it high enough, well, I mean, we got what we need right here. So if I can get some legs fabricated up, we'll just put casters on the frame once the axle's out, and bada bang, bada boom, there we go. So we'll see what we get to today. I only got a couple 3 hours to work, so before I got to take off. So, but yeah, I think this frame is, I think she's done for, boys. I don't see this being worth it. You know, the truck I'm trying to score is a very low mile. It's only a 56,000 mile, 1994. Clean cab, clean doors, clean everything. Frame has surface rust because General Motors, in their infinite wisdom to this day, doesn't paint their frames. They put a wax coating on them instead. So they rust. But, you know, it's just surface rust. I mean, I could literally probably not even blast it and just chassis saver it with a little bit of light cleanup, and it's the same frame. I still need some extra length to do what I want to do with the truck. But, yeah, I don't know. I just don't know. We might save this. We might hold on to this frame just in case I need it. If I need to stretch it at 2 points to make the whole extended cab swap work. I don't really know how that's going to look like. So, yeah, we might do that. But, all right, well, I'm going to get after it, see what I can come up with. We got to get a drive shaft out. That shouldn't be too bad now. And so we got to get that out, and we got to get a front axle out, and yeah, I just got to be careful, because once I take an axle out, then I can't move it, and I got to have a trailer in here for tomorrow to work on. So anyway, I'll bring it back in a little bit when we see what we've got. All right, guys, so here's what we got. Upon further inspection and whatever else, I'm going to cut the frame right about here. And I'm not going to scrap anything just yet. What that allows me to do is, because I'm anticipating having to lengthen this lower section of frame right here to accommodate a extended cab truck, or extended cab versus the regular cab. Otherwise, the back of the cab, it's not a matter of just moving these mounts and welding them back here, extending them out, because I think the cab will hit this. I don't know for sure. If I can avoid it, great. If the cab will ride over top of that, I'll do it, but I just don't think it will. So I've got to allow for that, to have a frame splice here as well as potentially farther back. So if I cut here, this is that frame stiffener I was talking about. So these trucks were double framed from the factory. from here back to there. You can see that, and it's elongated. It's about a 2-inch taller frame member. So if this is even usable, if I cut here, that lets me have this chunk of frame to extend a potential other frame that I end up with. So we'll see whether that works or not, but I'm not going to throw it away until I know. I'm also not going to take it apart and go through all that trouble to try to get those frames split in half and cleaned up and all that until I know that I need them or not. And I might just find out that there's other frames out there that I could use or do something myself. We'll figure it out. Regardless, I've got the drive shaft out. I've got both halves of the truck supported in terms of jack stands, and I'm running out of time. I only have, I had like 2 hours max total, and I've got to get all these parts packed away and put away. I got to get the frame cut in half. I got to get this moved out, tools cleaned up, and then hooked up to a flat deck to go get a cab. So I'm out of time. So we got the drive shaft apart. We're going to split the truck in half, and that way I use the skid steer, pull it outside, and we'll work some more on this once we've acquired some more parts and know what we're doing. So with that in mind, let's get to torching. Alright guys, well, the last portion of this adventure in this video, or at least this this video. Certainly not the last of this adventure, but I got a flatbed behind me, and we'll have to take a look at this cab and hopefully pick it up if it's what they say it is. We actually got a little more snow than they called for. We got, if it wasn't 8 inches, it was 7.5. They were calling for 4 to 7, so I guess they were close. It was funny though, because when I went south to the shop to plow today, and that was only, that's about 18 miles, 17, 18 miles south of my house. There was, lucky if there was 3 from the same storm, but it was riding the line right about I-69, and the shop was right about I-69, so, and I'm 20 miles north of there. So, but we're heading up to where there's probably even more snow. We're going about 40 miles further north, so we will see. I left the plow on just in case. I gotta make some room, but he says it's on a lift, and I should be able to back right underneath it and set it right down on the trailer. So we shall see. All right, guys. What in God's name? Jesus, the stuff I get myself into. Some wire harnesses dragging, but stopped at the old truck stop. Hopefully this guy's sweet wells on these casters hold up. So far so good. We're about 30 miles in, a little over halfway. And yeah, we got half a half ton. She needs some rockers. Not rockers. She needs some cab corners, but not too bad. This is the bad side. Don't look. Overall, it needs body work, but it's got most of an interior. It's got the good old interior that I prefer, so that's a plus. Doors are starting to rust, but hopefully we don't need those. But yeah, it was kind of a shit show to get that rig on the trailer with a gantry crane, a rolling gantry crane. But we got her done. So there's our cab. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to apologize for the extremely poor video quality, but I'm filming this in the truck on my way back. So you just saw the new half a truck, and GPS just took me some god-awful way back. On the way there, it was about 17,000 turns down every narrow 2-lane farm road with 30-foot deep ditches on either side after 8 inches of snow. So I decided to take the northerly route back, which was supposed to be 3 minutes longer, and that was through every friggin' hood in Saginaw, Michigan that you could possibly imagine in the dark. So anyway, you saw I stopped at the truck stop and checked the straps, checked the load. Somehow this dang thing's staying tight on the trailer, so that's the close of it. Hope you enjoyed the introduction to the new 6BT Cummins swapped Chevy 3500 HD Ram truck. I'm going to find a more concise description for that, but here's to the beginning of a new adventure. Guys, as always, thank you for watching. If you like it, please, you have no idea how much it helps if you like, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe as well. Huge help. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week, and stay tuned for more.